That's
last
good.
night as well.
That was good.
That was good. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast episode. I don't know. I've lost count of how many episodes we've done, but Lee's going to say 2. Like he said, 1 last week. I hope you're all well. Thank you for joining us. Many of you there already and many of you there waiting. Thanks very much for the support. Much appreciated. If you could retweet us, like us, all that malarkey, like the stream, and all that jazz. Joining me this evening, the usual suspects, talking about the gut-wrenching defeat against Manchester City at the weekend. Lee Judges, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm all good. Thank you very much. Really, really good. Had a lovely holiday, which is now all over. The Christmas tree's down. Decorations. Always a sad day, that is, because you know that the holiday's over, don't you? Like, do you know what I mean?
I love it. I love taking it. Get the house back together again.
Now, I have a sense of a little bit of depression when that happens and all that. Like, and I can't believe how quick this week and a bit's gone. You know what I mean? I'm going to say this now. It's Christmas Day. It's got to be the quickest day of the year. How quick does Christmas Day go? The actual day. You know what I mean? It's on double time or something. It goes so quick. But it's all over. Back to work tomorrow. Back to normal. But looking forward to Thursday now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a cup semi-final to look forward to. Dan, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, very good, thanks, mate. Like Lee, goes quick, but for me, I had COVID over Christmas, so it was a disaster for me. So I'm back now on the mend, and Christmas Day was slow, not quick. I've enjoyed watching Arsenal of late, so I'm looking forward to having a chat with you boys, and of course, looking forward to Thursday as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Graham, how are you, sir?
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Happy New Year, Craig.
Happy New Year to you too, sir. Cheers.
Happy New Year, mate. Really looking forward to getting into this one tonight. As you know, I tried to get into a taxi just before Christmas, only to be told that it was reserved for the judge and Sophie Rose. Well, I don't know if people know, but Christmas Day was my 60th birthday.
Oh, we did.
Oh, I did. Happy birthday.
Did.
I didn't know that. Happy birthday.
Don't look a day over 40, mate.
What happens then? On Christmas Day, what do you open presents in the morning and the afternoon? Where's that go about?
The Messiah.
I open them when I get up.
Really? Don't have 2 settings?
It depends when I get up, Lee.
Don't you have 2 settings?
If I recover from the Christmas Eve. But, you know, you're ruining my joke, Lee. You know?
Sorry.
So I'll start that one again, Lee.
Again, yeah.
As you know, I tried to get into the taxi just before Christmas, only to be told it was reserved for the judge and Sophie Rose, right?
Yeah,
okay?
We got that bit. Yeah,
well, it was my birthday on Christmas Day. That was my 60th, and my family.
Happy birthday! I didn't know it was your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Lee. And my family tried to book me a hospitality package for the City game. Did you know that? But when they found Arsenal, only to be told that the last package had been sold to the judge.
I'm sorry.
So I don't seem to have much luck with hospitality packages, because I tried it once before and tried to get in with Harry Simu to a Thierry Henry hospitality package, but Harry preferred to go for the Granit Xhaka package. So I dipped out there as well. So, yeah, nice to be back, boys. Another scripted joke, Harry. All the best.
I'll tell you what, you wouldn't want Graham as your best man at your wedding, would you?
No, you wouldn't. You certainly wouldn't.
Do you know what? You joke, but I've been best man at 3 weddings, and none of them are still together.
I'm not surprised.
Even more reason for Graham not to be your best man.
Did you tell them all they were getting in back of cabs with Sophie Rose? That's probably why, mate.
Did I tell you the time he got into the back of a cab? Yeah.
If you ever marry Sophie Rose, Lee, don't book me as your best man.
Listen, Sophie says when you get me back, keeps phoning me up and saying when we're getting back into the cab. You know what I mean? I must have done something there, like, you know what I mean? Right?
I think it's that cab driver she likes.
Yeah. Cheers for that, Dan. Like that.
So, lads, the weekend. Obviously, a massively great performance that we put in against Manchester City, but obviously the wrong result. Now, obviously, lots and lots of people have been talking about the referee, and lots of people are talking about VAR and this, that, and the other. But I want to start. I know you talked about it last night on Lee Judge's TV. Go and subscribe to Lee Judge's TV if you haven't already. There you go, Lee. Little plug for you.
Oh, thank you very much. There, the plug, Craig. The
plug. But the first question I want to ask you, and I want to start with you, Lee, is the first question tonight is, how are you feeling about this side now? How are you feeling? This question will come to all of you. How are you feeling after that performance? I know it was only one game, and we're all sitting here and we're all saying, "Oh, how good we were," and this, that, and the other, and not many teams have done that to Manchester City this season. But how are you all feeling now about, last year we were all sitting here saying out, in, out, I don't see any, I can't see how anyone at the moment going on the last few games, how anyone could want him out. This just before I go, just before you answer that, I should have got this prepared, really, shouldn't I? Since the Everton game, since we lost to Everton, we've picked up 12 points from 15. We're in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, and we've scored 20 goals. How are you feeling about that now, Lee?
Well, encouraged, unbelievable, really. I have to say that. The greatest thing about this is that. And I say, after the Everton game, I thought I couldn't see us doing what we've done. I couldn't see a way back for Arteta. I really couldn't, But what's happened, in my opinion, is that when we was winning in that 10 game unbeaten run, the performances weren't there as well. There was some poor performances there, as we've got the results, but 1-0 against Burnley, 1-0 against Norwich, there weren't great encouraging performances. Now, I know after the game against Everton, I spoke to a few of my mates who were saying who are very much backing Arteta, and they've said, well, I can't see any way back for him now. I really can't. But what happens is, results. Results it's all about results. And I don't care what anybody says. It's not just been about getting the results. The performances have been there as well. The game against Southampton was a massive turning point for me. I remember saying to Dan that day, going to the game, I fancy going to the game. It's a chore after that Everton game. I didn't really want to go. I thought it was going to be a real tough, dogged sort of a game. We brushed them aside. And that goal, remember the goal Lacazette scored, the free-flowing goal, I think was the massive turning point. But also, I have to say this with it, and I've always said this about Arteta, and I'll say it again, he is one lucky man. He has things going. The Aubameyang thing could have blown up in his face. He should have probably dropped Aubameyang a couple of games before, but didn't really have the bottle to do it for whatever reason. I get, maybe he was reluctant to drop him and all that. It was forced upon him. In comes Martinelli, and he's been a breath of fresh air. I think he's the difference between Arsenal being this, not so, getting over the line in games now to this free-flowing stuff, because we've got him going down the left-hand side and Saka going down the right, and it's breathtaking. It's breathtaking to watch them two on Saturday, New Year's Day, absolutely ripping apart with movement, pace, energy, to a team of one of the best teams in Europe, if not the best team in Europe, if I'll be honest. And the transformation of the team has been incredible. It's been incredible. I never see it come after that Everton game. I never see this happening. But the way we've destroyed teams, I know Norwich are bottom of the league, but we destroyed them. I've seen us go and destroy Leeds. Leeds, by the way, are picking up a few results here with the same players that they've got when we played against them, by the way. Not much of a difference. Destroyed Leeds. I'll tell you what, the performance against West Ham, since I know they lost to Spurs straight after us, but They were all over Spurs, by the way. Let's be honest about it. Should never have lost that game. That was without Antonio. By the way, when we played them, same team with Antonio, they never got a kick, Craig. They never got a kick against us. And I'm looking at that thinking, wow. And then I watched West Ham destroying teams, going to Crystal Palace. I know it went ended in 3-2, but they was all over them at one stage. And thinking, wow, there's something in this team. And let's see what can happen against Man City. Forget about the result at this moment. The performance was incredible. It was incredible. I'll be honest, looking back, I've watched it again, looking back on it, we was probably capitulated ourselves. It wasn't anything Manchester City done. It was our own doing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because of the penalty decision, we lost our discipline a little bit, But I will say, when a referee continues to keep giving, and I don't know if anybody have seen it, but the refreshing thing from Gabby Lobonga, I think that's his name, and a couple of them, I'll just call him Gabby. What a name that is once you've had a few beers, you know what I mean? But turning round, and it was about, I can't remember, there's another pundit who was saying it. When you look at it and analyse it, the referee refereed two teams differently in that game. Now, I'm not making excuses about it. He refereed differently. In the first half, Saka goes past Rodri. Rodri brings him down. Standard yellow card, tells him not to do it again. When Gabriel does it, standard yellow card, couldn't wait to book him. And it continued and continued and continued. And when professional footballers are saying that, there's something in it. You know what I mean? And it was. I think it was Halsey, the referee, turned around and said, you know what I mean? Poor decisions going against Arsenal all the time. Now, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy or whatever. I just think the referee is crap. Should never be refereeing in the Premier League, in my opinion. And whatever way you look at it, that's how it was. But let's forget about all of that. The performance, the way we ripped Manchester City apart, I've not seen that. We was just talking off air. Chelsea done it last season with the 1-0 wins in the league and the FA Cup and the Champions League. They beat them by doing it a different way, by defending, riding their luck a bit. Spurs beat Manchester City by riding their luck. We actually took the game to them, toe-to-toe with them, which a lot of people have said, you can't go toe-to-toe with Manchester City. You'll get this and you'll get that. We went toe-to-toe with them with a young side and got on top of them, and realistically should have been 2 or 3-0 up in the first half. You know what I mean? So I'm going to take the pluses from it and everything from that. And if Arsenal continue to play like that, I'm not saying they're going to play like that every week, but when it comes up against Spurs, I'm telling you that now, if we play like that against Spurs, we are in for a very, very good afternoon or evening, whenever it is, at the new White Hart Lane. But we've got to play like that against the big sides. Whatever way you do, we've capitulated against. But I've got to be honest. I watched Chelsea when they played us this season, right? And it was just a stroll in the park and ended up beating us 2-0. And I'm going to say this, Arsenal, the last 3 times I've watched De Bruyne, I've purled over him. It's been like a training game to him. He just had the Emirates to himself. He hardly got a kick in that game. And that is all down to the Arsenal and the way we played. So for me, I'm going to take the pluses from it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely brilliant, mate. I mean, you go on in that De Bruyne point. He actually fell to his back when the final whistle went. The geezer was wrecked. He was lying on the floor because he was so tired, but done nothing. So I mean, that goes to show. We kept him quiet, running around trying to do stuff, and he couldn't do anything. This one comes in from Alexander. Thank you very much, sir. Rodri should have been sent off. He made so many fouls, it's incredible. He only got a yellow when he took his shirt off to celebrate. Very sketchy. I have to agree.
Can't argue that.
Arsenal, I think it was 11 in the second half, 11 fouls, 5 yellows, 1 red. Yeah. Dan.
They didn't get a booking to the 90th minute.
Yeah. Well, he only got, till it's, Alexander's right, isn't he? Bit sketchy, isn't it? Dan, Lee, we'll come to you with the same question, but I just want to touch on what Lee said there. He said that Arteta is a lucky man, that the Aubameyang thing could have gone, tits up, could have exploded in his face, and Lee is correct. Is he lucky or brave? I think he's a bit. I think it's a bit of bravery.
With what, the Aubameyang thing?
Yeah. To
Yeah, I
come
think it's
out
the
and
right
drop your captain twice. You know, he dropped him against Spurs for being late, and now he's dropped him again. Doesn't look like there's any way back for him. Is that brave or, you know?
Yeah, I think it is brave. I think it's the right decision. That's for sure. I think he's made the decision just like Thomas Tuchel has with Lukaku, for the same similar sort of stuff, really, just lack of discipline and just unprofessionalism. And I think that's what you've got to do as a manager now. It's good to see, it's refreshing, Craig. We've seen enough player power in this game over the last 10 years. It's good sometimes that you get to see the manager stick up for the team and stick up for the club and stick up for himself. And I think that it was bravery. Where do I sit with the situation at the moment? I think everyone's pretty aware of my thoughts of the last 2 years. It's been horrible, if I'm honest with you. It hasn't been pleasant at all. And I don't think that it's all been down to Mikel Arteta. My fingers were pointing at the board and the ownership a lot more than it was Mikel Arteta. But I was pretty done on a few occasions, really, very early on of last season.
I think we all were, mate, to be honest.
Yeah. I was completely fed up with it. Villarreal, he should have been sacked to stand by it. It was a shambles. And I said, what I'll do, I won't get too excited about the 1-0 against Burnley and the 1-0 against Watford and the 1-0 against Norwich, because we weren't playing well. We were just scraping through, a bit like what Spurs did at the moment. I will judge him on Liverpool away, Man United away and Everton away. And if he picks up 4 points from those, I'll be happy. And we got zilch, 0. And I was like, just get him gone, please. It's ridiculous. We're playing poor. It's really bad to watch. And I can't go on much longer than this. Since then, I called out not just the manager to do something better, but I've been calling him out for 2 years. I called out one player that I really wanted to see a lot more from, and I've answered my questions. Martin Odegaard. I just sat there and I thought, what does he do then? You know, he's not quite nice on the ball. He doesn't score. He doesn't really assist. And I think he assisted 4 in the 2-year period he'd been. And I thought, do you know what? This is unbelievable. So when I looked at him answering the questions, I started to look at what else has been answered from me in the last couple of years. Style of play. I've been crying out for that. Never saw one. Didn't really understand what we were trying to do. A lot of people said they understood what we were trying to do. I couldn't even see what we were trying to do. But I tell you what I've seen in the last five or six games, Craig, is a style of play that is attractive and that is getting the attacking players working in the final third. And I put that down to a couple of things, and Graham will probably be able to touch on this better than me because he's a tactical master in comparison to myself. But I'll tell you what I've seen in the last few games that has really impressed me. And that is passing in triangles on the right and on the left. There seems to me to be triangles on the right-hand side between Tomiyasu, Saka and either Odegaard or Partey. And then on the left-hand side, there seems to be Tierney, Xhaka and Martinelli. And then what you get in the middle for me is a diamond. And Lacazette's at that tip, Xhaka's at that base, and Partey and Odegaard are either side of it. And that just seems to be working for me. I love what Lacazette's doing at the moment in terms of his link-up play, and I think he is wearing the armband with a little bit of pride, which is probably the first time we can say that in quite a while. And these young guns are absolutely firing. Let's look at Saka, his performance. I'm sorry, but that is an outstanding performance for anybody, no matter what age you are. When you look at how young this kid is, it was sensational. There's a fantastic photo of him surrounded by 7 Manchester City players. And the only one that I'm worried about is the one wearing the black shirt in the middle called the ref, because the others couldn't touch him. It was unbelievable performance from him and Tomiyasu down that right-hand side. So I'm starting to see a little bit more of an understanding of what style we're looking at. I answered the question, please beat people convincingly. We are. We've beaten Leeds and Norwich by quite a convincing amount of goals. And I wanted us to compete with the big boys. Now, whether or not people agree that West Ham are a big club or not, they are this season because they're in the mix for top 4. So that meant that we had to go out there and we had to compete with them at home. And we did. And I wanted to see us compete with a team that doesn't batter us 4 or 5-0 in the top 4, because that's what we've seen previously this season. And we competed and we performed. And I think Man City came off that field celebrating like they've won the league because they knew that they got away with one. There's no doubt about it, Craig. They all, like you said, Kevin De Bruyne are on the floor thinking, how the hell did we do that? I'm knackered. Yeah. Rodri taking his shirt off, going nuts like he's just won the World Cup for him because he knows that they did not deserve it. Pep Guardiola come out and he said the better team lost. So when we start to look at that improvement and progress, I am more than happy to accept that we are a better team going forward in the last 5 games than we have been the whole of this season. And I agree with Lee. Gabriel Martinelli is a massive part of that. And again, we can't really tell whether Martinelli has always been ready and it's Martinelli proving Arteta wrong, or it's a genius stroke from the manager and he's now said, go on then, you're ready, mate. Actually, I don't know what way it is. I'm just loving seeing this kid play. I've been wanting to see it for a long time. I think he's an absolute breath of fresh air. He does not stop running. And I think the way that he leads by example as a young player actually eggs on all of the others around him. The likes of Saka and Smith Rowe when he does come on, because we've seen him on the bench of late. Odegaard, of course. And I must say, just lastly, we talk about partnerships and individual quality. I thought one player on the pitch was by far the best, and his name was Thomas Partey. He was outstanding. And, you know, you can look at Granit Xhaka's performances and start saying how fantastic he can be. You know, he's still a liability, and we see that again at the weekend. But Thomas Partey was outstanding. Absolutely amazing. So, to answer your question in a nutshell, Craig, yeah, I think things are improving. But this is a big, big month for Arsenal coming up, and it could be a massive month of wow. We're in the Carabao Cup final, next round of the FA Cup. We beat Spurs and we're in the mix for top 4, or it could be we're 7th place out of both the cups, and our season's pretty bleak. So this is a huge 4 weeks for Arsenal Football Club coming up.
Graham, you know, what is it that's got better? You know, Dan has, you know, pointed out about the triangles and the diamonds, and, you know, that obviously is being implemented by the coaches. But what is it for you, Graham, that's got better over the, you know, the last few weeks?
I would take it back to the recruitment. If you think back to the end of August, before he brought in the players that he brought in, Craig, I remember going to the Chelsea game, and do you know what our defence was that day against Chelsea?
Say that again, sorry?
Our defence against Chelsea that day, when we lost them 2-0 at the Emirates. We had Leno in goal, Chambers at right back, Holding and Murray. And the only regular there was Kian Tierney at left back. So first thing I think they've done really well is the recruitment. The recruitment in changing the defence, they brought in a goalkeeper who, when he came in, let's face it, had been in 2 relegated sides. Everybody had no faith in. And he's proved to be really, I think, an outstanding signing. The way his starting position is high, the way he claims crosses, the way he distributes the ball, that's the first thing. That has had a massive effect on the team, right? He's also brought in a centre-half, Benjamin White, who can play out from the back, who's comfortable on the ball, who's also good off the ball as well. And with Gabriel's formed a really good centre-half partnership. That's another key thing that he's done right. We've now got 2 quality centre-halves. And he's really lucky in that he's got what I would call 4 exceptional young players. And those 4 exceptional young players, who are far more mature than their ages, are Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard and Smith Rowe. And when you've got talent like that, up top, players who can come short, players who can run in behind, you've got exceptional football players. So he's got that right. But what he's also done well is, I think, as Lee and Dan have touched on, is I think he was holding the team back slightly in the coaching before. He's now given us a structure and a base to play from and allowing these young talents to express themselves. And he's actually put in place plans now, which I think I saw on Saturday, an absolutely magnificent performance, which against a team that is a benchmark. And I think that we are now in this top 4 race. And I think I agree with Lee and Dan. I think the next month's going to be pivotal. But I don't see anything from the other teams that we need to be afraid of. This is a young team. You've got to remember, they changed direction. In the past, they'd always gone for older players. And we're moving away from that now. We're nailing down young players on long contracts. So the whole focus of the club has changed in the way we're going. And I think, I've seen a change of direction on the pitch, Craig, in the way we're playing. We're playing higher up the pitch now. Dan made some good points. I think there are triangles on both sides. On the right-hand side, you've got that Saka works with Odegaard. Tomiyasu is more inverted, but he can come up as well. And then you've got on the left-hand side, you've got Martinelli, you've got Tierney, who's not bombing up high all the time now. It's more, Saturday was really disciplined. He was coming up high when he needed to be, but he's working in a partnership with Granit Xhaka. And Granit Xhaka is pressing up high now. And the reason he's able to do that is because he's got the confidence of defenders behind him who are really good one-on-one and good in duels, who can and play high and have got pace. So, and then you've got the power and the presence of Thomas Partey finally showing itself in midfield. So I think now he's got all the ingredients now of a good team. And I think it started with a good recruitment from me. At the end of that transfer window, we'd lost our first 3, we were on -9. And albeit it's taken with a young team, he's assembled a young team, Craig, the youngest in the league. So there's always going to be inconsistency. But I think the benefit is there to be seen now from these young players who are growing in the team. And I think, so in answer to your question, I think it started to go right when they got the recruitment right. In the past, the recruitment, when you think of the players we used to recruit, like Mustafi, Kolasinac, and people like that, he's now got the recruitment right. It's his team, and also a very brave decision with Aubameyang that had to go right. But in a way, it's worked for him. So, and I think that I'll leave you with this thought, and that is last year it was Smith Rowe coming into the team at Christmas that changed the direction of the club, the way he played between the lines. And this year, Dan and Lee are quite right. That Martinelli move now, coming in on that left-hand side, has really galvanised the team. His energy and his quality. But what he does, Martinelli, is, and it's a tactic I think we use really well, is that Ramsdale able to drill that ball out to his feet and he can kill it in an instant. And then he literally, Cancelo, one of the best fullbacks in the league, was made to look really ordinary on Saturday. He was just running past him for fun. And I think, so he's got lucky with one or two things that got his way, but he's earned his luck because he took a massive gamble, changed the direction of the club, brought in young players, and I think it's bearing the fruits now, the rewards for him.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree anymore, mate. Talking about Martin Odegaard, a couple of you have mentioned him. One thing I did notice at the weekend, although Lacazette's captain, Lee, and he's got the armband on, every instruction that I saw coming from the sideline, or when the ball went out of play, or it was Martin Odegaard that was called over, and it was Martin Odegaard that was given all the instructions. Now, I said a couple of weeks ago that he'd be my outside bet for the armband, but I'm thinking next season. I'm thinking he's going to be the favourite to get the armband, captain of his country, of course. Would you be happy with that? Would you be happy with Odegaard being captain? Because I mean, like Graham rightly says, he's getting better and better every game. And when you see the coaching staff giving the instructions to him, that's got to turn your head a bit.
Yeah, I think that there's something in that. I think what the good thing about it at the moment is that where over the last few seasons, we've been really struggling for one captain or one leader. But I see 3 or 4 out there now, and the instructions and the determination from all quarters. Odegaard was one of the players that come off on Saturday when we went down to 10 men, and we changed it a little bit, and I think that's a big thing for me watching the game back, is that we went down to 10 men and we didn't capitulate. We still actually look quite dangerous in going forward and all that, and we defended really, really well, and they didn't run us amok. They weren't all over us, and I think that if we did, we not saying that by losing Gabriel, the standard of central defending shown up there when Holding come back cutting inside. He should have won the header. He didn't. He's not at the level of them two, and that's what we've got to do. We've got to get someone in there that's in and around the same level as theirs. So, i.e., that could be Saliba. But going back to the leading point of view, I think it goes under the radar a little bit, but Tomiyasu, leadership qualities are all there as well. Urging them on, doing things, defending really, really, really well. Tierney, by the way, is another one there that you could go into. Gabriel, Odegaard, you've got Lacazette up there. So I think all of a sudden there's 4, 5, 6 players, that all of a sudden, you could even mention Ramsdale as well. We were struggling after 1 or 2, Well,
if we were having this conversation this time last year, we would have struggled to name one.
Exactly. That is down to good recruitment, as Graham said. We've recruited some good players. Listen, I'm at the moment of feeling that with Martin Odegaard, I think it's going to take him. Listen, that's a difficult position that he's playing in there, playmaker. Let's get this right. It's not, people go, oh, it's an easy role. It's a tough role to play. You've got to be very, very good. You've got to be getting into little pockets, and you've got to have the control and to get the ball quickly out your feet and play the passes. It's not an easy role to play. You've got to be gifted to play that role. And he's now just getting his feet under the table. And I think that, he's in a position where he's had to convince a lot of fans that he is the player yet. You know what I mean? And so he's only done it for 4, 5, 6 games. I see a little bit. I seen the game against West Ham last season when we was 3-0, when he took the game by the scruff of the neck and dragged us back there. I thought, we've got a player. But it took him a little while to get back into it, the signing. Don't forget the disappointment of being rejected by Real Madrid. Might have took a bit of a toll mentally and all that, but he's come through all of that now, and he's really buzzing now. Looks a real top player. £30 million. We sold Joe Willock for 20, and we bought him for 30. That's another great bit of business. What Graham was on about is recruitment. To do that was a fantastic bit of business. And I think that. Was he 22 now? I think he's 23 now. Just turned 23. Yeah. The ceiling's very, very high on him. The ceiling's very, very high on Martinelli. Very high on Smith Rowe. And so, at the minute, I think we've got 3 or 4 captains. Gabriel. I think people giving him a little bit of stick at the end of the day for what he done. He's only 24, Craig. You know what I mean? He's still young, as in terms of being a proper pro player. So these guys have all got time on their side, and so at the moment, I think the right thing at this moment to do for the football club is to keep giving the armband to Lacazette and hold him, because at this moment in time, and let these players mature, let them find their feet, and then maybe next season make that call. I wouldn't make that call till next season.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I'm firmly with you on that. Just leave Lacazette in there at the moment. Give him the ban, because he seems to be thriving while he's got it on his arm. Dan, another question. I was speaking to my mate the other day who actually supports Manchester United, and he said to me that Arsenal look better without Aubameyang in the side. Now, it can't be no coincidence that since he's been out of the side, we've actually turned it on a bit. Is there any truth in that, do you think, Dan? Are the players, has this affected the players positively, that he's been left out?
Yeah, I think what they've done is together they've said our captain is no longer here. Whether that means in the side at training alone, we're still not quite sure. But at the moment, he's certainly not playing in the games. And what I think it's done is lift everybody. I kind of agree and disagree on what you've all said, actually, because what I do agree with is that there's certainly some candidates that can take that kind of mould on from Aubameyang's position now that he's not there. But there's not one solid candidate that's like, well, it's definitely him. Because even Lacazette, we don't know what's going on with him in the future. If he stays at Arsenal, I think he'll be our captain. But it doesn't look like he is, because it looks like he's going to reject contracts. I think Odegaard's a good shout in what I've seen the last few. I was a little bit shocked when people spoke about it, because I've not really seen that on the pitch in terms of leadership. So, of course, when we discussed it, I think it was 3 weeks ago, I've started to look now at what people have been seeing and saying about Martin Odegaard, and you can see a lot of communication. You can also see a lot of gesturing, and I think sometimes that's good about keeping shape and pushing forward and pressing and pointing at individuals. I've seen quite a lot of that from other individuals like Tierney, Gabriel, and also Aaron Ramsdale. So we've got 3 or 4 names there that are in the mix, but certainly those individuals I think have already shown us that they have got leadership quality, but it's gone even further now that Aubameyang's been out of the team, and I think it's more noticeable, Craig, for sure. I think also what it's done is, although Aubameyang was actually improving some of his work rate of the last few games, the last few games where I felt he should have been dropped, i.e. Watford, Liverpool, I think Newcastle was another game as well, I feel like he wasn't working hard in those games, and something was gone mentally with him. And then, of course, this has happened. Whatever this is, he's no longer in the team. So I think that we've definitely changed our style because of Aubameyang leaving. And I think what Martinelli and Odegaard and both Smith Rowe and Saka bring is a lot more tenacity and work rate and never say die attitude. And Lacazette's hold-up play and link-up play is chalk and cheese in comparison to Aubameyang's. Aubameyang's not that type of player. Aubameyang's one of those players that you just give him the ball one-on-one and you use his pace and power and his finishing ability to score the hundreds of goals that he scored for Arsenal in the last couple of years. Lacazette's not that guy. Lacazette doesn't score as many, but actually he's very important because of his link-up play. And also, he's shown for me, I don't know what everyone else thinks, in the last 5-6 games with that armband, that he is more of a leader than Aubameyang on the pitch. I think a lot of the youngsters have come to a Lacazette a lot more than I've ever seen them come to Aubameyang. So I think there's maybe an element of feeling a lot more comfortable without Aubameyang there. Sometimes, Craig, when you lose a big character, and I don't mean a big character in the dressing room, a big name of football, like a Thierry Henry in 2008, we nearly won the league the year Henry left us, remember? We were only an Eduardo leg break away from winning the league because all of the players stepped up. The Fabregas, the Van Persie, the Rosicky, the Gleb, the Flamini. They all said, well, we're the leaders now. Our leader's gone. I think we're seeing similar now that Aubameyang's out the side. So that's how I'd answer that question, mate, moving forward.
Brilliantly answered, mate. Brilliantly answered. Graham, there is with the Odegaard thing. Before we come back, we'll go back to obviously the game after this question. But with the Odegaard thing, Odegaard Smith Rowe, that's going to be a hell of a conundrum for Mikel Arteta about which one he's going to play. If he keeps playing Odegaard, is that going to hinder Smith Rowe's progression in the side, or if he plays Smith Rowe, is Martin Odegaard going to get is he going to get cheesed off? It's a nice problem for the manager to have, Graham, isn't it?
It's a lovely problem for the manager to have, and I think that you've got 4 players there for 3 positions. I think Smith Rowe at the moment is coming off the bench and doing what he has to do. So, and I think there's plenty of games in football. Players pick up injuries, players lose form. So, and sometimes you do have to freshen it up. So, I'm pretty sure, Smith Rowe can. You're talking about, Craig. You're talking about Smith Rowe and Odegaard having to rotate, but who's to say they're the two that have to rotate? It could be a case of Smith Rowe could come in and play on the left. You could change the dynamics of those players around. So it's not necessarily Smith Rowe can play at 10. Smith Rowe can play wide left. Martinelli's proved he can play on the right and he can play on the left. You've got 4 good players there, top players, very mature players for young lads, and I think they're all quality. And I think there'll be plenty of chances for Smith Rowe to get back in the team, but it won't necessarily be, in answer to your question, for Odegaard. But the one thing Odegaard is showing me already is the thing he offers, which we need to talk about here, is not just what he does on the ball between the lines, what he does off the ball. And I think you saw evidence of it on Saturday. What Man City like to do in their build-up, they like to use Rodri when they play out from goal kicks. And he was the one who was pressing on, cutting off, screening that pass into Rodri. He's working so hard to stop City. It wasn't just him, mind you. It was the whole team. Martinelli was the trigger to go on to Diaz when he got the ball on the right. Xhaka was pressing well on their right back as well. But Odegaard, to me, does a tremendous amount of work off the ball that goes unnoticed. And I think so. He's offering real quality, not only on the ball, Craig, but off the ball. But in answer to your question, doesn't necessarily have to be Odegaard, Spofford, and Smith Rowe. You can play any 3 into those 4, and 4 into 3. Sorry. But just going back to your question that Dan answered really well, I think with the Aubameyang situation, Lacazette clearly, and we saw it last season, brings out the best in those players. And I think Martinelli does something that Aubameyang can't do in that wide left position. He can come short and he can run in behind. Aubameyang's very good one-on-one running in, but he can't come short. He plays the one way. And the good thing we've got now on the right and the left, we've got players like Saka and Martinelli who can not only come short, but can spin in behind. Allbirds very much at his time of life, and he's on the dip. You have to remember his numbers are dropping. Can't do that. And I think so, in a way, Arteta was always going to be judged how this worked out. Had this not happened, he would be judged wrongly in taking Aubameyang out of the team. But the fact that these young players have stepped up and Lacazette has done such a good job in sort of like allowing them to play off him has worked in Arteta's favour. So we've got 4 young talents there for 3 positions, but they can be rotated, Greg.
Great. I like it. Dan, you wanted to come back in on that point, mate?
Yeah, just quickly, I just wanted to touch on having a squad, because a lot of the time people talk about how great the squad of Manchester City is, and other teams, particularly in Chelsea, in England and other areas. But Arsenal have probably got maybe 14, 15 players. and we need 20 to 25 if we want to be competing with the big boys. So sometimes it does frustrate me a little when Arsenal fans go, what's going to happen with Smith Rowe now? He's going to be unhappy. We can't get Pepe in the side. He needs to be sold. Actually, we do need a squad. We don't need 11 players. So I think sometimes it's good and healthy competition. And Martinelli had to wait for his time. He got an injury to Smith Rowe, which allowed him to get into the side. Aubameyang's now injured, which has allowed Odegaard to come back into the mix, into that kind of new position. So they're no longer playing Lacazette and Aubameyang. They're now playing Odegaard behind Lacazette. And I think that there will be opportunities in injuries, and we've seen the African Cup of Nations come into play now. There will be opportunities for this side. But it's good for us and healthy for us to have a squad. And I just think sometimes as fans, we get a little bit on the back of the players that aren't getting a chance. I absolutely love Smith Rowe, and I think he's been one of the best players this season. But actually, he's coming on and he's still impacting. He's still making a difference. He's still scoring goals and creating and assisting. And if he continues to do that, he will get an opportunity where somebody else will drop out of that side. And it might be that against Forest in a couple of games' time, or even Liverpool on Thursday, that Lacazette drops out and we see Martinelli in the number 9 position with Odegaard behind him and Saka and Smith Rowe either side of that. You just don't know. There's opportunities there for these kids to get back in. So I just wanted to make that point on the back of what Graham was saying.
And a perfectly valid one, mate. Very well done. I mean, it is something nice to have, that thing of having a squad, because it's been for so long now. We've been watching a team that, you can go back years and years and years. And I said it years and years ago. Because we haven't had a squad, you've had players who are turning up knowing that they're playing every week, and that it doesn't keep you on your toes, doesn't keep you fresh, and it's not good. I don't think for a football club to have that kind of same 11 every week with no one pushing, and especially the young fellas. We all know that a young fella, it happens on a Sunday afternoon. The young fella wants to get on the pitch and he wants to prove himself to the manager, doesn't he? He wants his game, and I think that's what's happening now at Arsenal. And I think that the players on the pitch are now realising that if I don't play very well, someone else is just going to come up behind me and take my place. And especially with Arteta as manager, because we've seen how ruthless he can be.
And do you remember in the unbeaten season, Craig, where we went, with Kanu and Wiltord? No one said, where are they going to go then? Because they're not getting in the team. We kept them and we bruised them and we brought them on to try and compete with the other competitions. And I think that's what we need. So, it's not a bad thing having Tavares and Tierney. It's not a bad thing having Odegaard and Smith Rowe. So long may it continue. And we need that in every position if we want to compete with the big boys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't forget, this is not just for this season. They've been bought, these players, to go on when we go on to different, bigger and better things. It's a great point that Dan makes there also about Lacazette. It was very interesting in the game yesterday on Saturday that when the change made for Lacazette, it was Martinelli went down the centre instead of actually keeping Martinelli there, maybe bringing on keeping Lacazette on and bringing on Pepe and all that. They chose to go down the route of Martinelli. I think maybe because they're a little bit more extra pace. But it's interesting now that what Dan's saying there, that there seems to be like that trust that he's doing well out on the wide area, that maybe the trust then comes into the middle. I think it's a very interesting thing over the next year or so, what's going to happen with Martinelli. Is he going to continue him to play on the left-hand side, or is he going to look to develop him as a centre forward? And then comes the question with Smith Rowe: do they look to develop him as a wide player, what he's been doing, or do they look to develop him into a goal scoring number 8? By the way, is something that we still need. So there's still lots of room and manoeuvres for a certain few players, and I think that one of the jobs that Arteta's got to do is to get these 4 fantastic young players in the team at the same time. At the moment, he's got 3. He's got to try and find a way of 4. That's going to be difficult, but we need these 4 players playing on a regular basis.
Absolutely. I mean, was it Alan Hansen that gave the famous quote that you won't win anything with kids? And I think Manchester United went on to do the treble, didn't they, that year? So,
we've got the best 4 kids now.
Yeah.
If you want to include Odegaard in that, but definitely with Martinelli, Smith Rowe and Saka, the best 3 at that age, I think, in Europe at this moment in time. They're that good, these three, you know what I mean? I really do.
I agree. There's not a lot better, if there is someone better, there's not a lot better than them in this league at the moment.
Listen, keep Graham on mute. He's forgot he's on mute, like, you know what I mean? So
he can't come in.
He can't come
in. Do you want to come in there, Graham?
You want to come in?
I want to come in, Craig. Just quickly, Lee, just to say Odegaard's only 22.
Yeah, so he's 23. Was he 23 just a
I
couple
think
of
he's
weeks?
22.
Don't matter. I don't matter if he's 22, 23. Still very, very young. So I'll include him in that. Under 23.
He's 22 until he's 23. That's how it works. Oh!
Don't forget these guys. These guys could still be playing under 20. All four of them could be playing under 23 football.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mad. Yeah, that's
Mad.
pretty mad. Going
We
back
under
to
23 league, wouldn't we?
going back to the game, I think we all touched on it. Like Arsenal, in the end, a great performance, but in the end, Arsenal beat Arsenal. The same old Arsenal, should we say? Granit Xhaka giving away. Look, I've watched it and watched it and watched it and watched it, and I still don't think it's a penalty.
No, it's a dive.
Completely. I think people
He's
are
dived to get a penalty.
Yeah, Granit Xhaka, yes, has got hold of his shirt, right? I'm not denying that fact. But just because he's got hold of his shirt doesn't mean it's a foul, right? Now, the only reason it looks like Granit Xhaka's pulling his shirt is because I would like to see anyone try and hold up a fella from diving by the shirt. You're going to try and hold him up? Because it's not happening. The reason why, for me, it looks like he's pulled his shirt is because he's diving. And obviously, Granit Xhaka's got his shirt, and obviously the material stretched from when he's diving. I don't think Granit Xhaka tugs him and brings him down. That contact from Granit Xhaka doesn't, in any context, make Bernardo Silva go over like he did. It's a complete dive. The fact that the referee has waved it away and play on, and then has been brought back to VAR. Now, this is where I have a problem, because we had a Stonewall penalty turned down in the first half. I don't care what you say. It's a penalty to Arsenal. Ederson's foot hits Odegaard's foot, and then the ball goes away. Takes him down. It's a penalty. My question is, Lee, why wasn't the referee told to go and have a look at that?
Well, that's it. Like, just before we go to that, GB saying Holland, Mbappe, Trent, are they all in the same team?
Yeah, very true.
I think like Mbappe plays for PSG. Like, I'm talking about three players in the same team. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just get that out of the way. Don't make me look a mug. All right, like,
you do a good job of that yourself.
Right? Yes, that's fair. That's fair comment. Like, Yeah, look, listen, I'll go on. Listen, if you're pulling a shirt, right? If I'm pulling your shirt, you're not going to dive forward, are you?
No.
You can't dive forward on the pulling of the shirt. So why is he going forward then? He should be going. If you're pulling his shirt, you should be going back. So it's a load of old crap. It's a, it's a penalty. It's a penalty. Yes, because he shouldn't have been grabbing hold of his shirt. We know that. If he hadn't grabbed hold of his shirt, right? If he hadn't touched his shirt, they would have looked at that and go, "That's never he's dived."
It's a dive. Yeah, exactly.
He's dived. Yeah. But because he's giving that, it's stupidity of Xhaka to do that, especially in the box. You know what I mean? And I would like to, slap his head about and say, when are you going to stop doing things like that? You know what I mean? Like,
I agree with that. Absolutely.
Heat in the moment and everything like that. He's got caught out a little bit and he's panicked. He's panicked. Listen, as a footballer, as a personal pride of a footballer, if someone beats you, you don't like it. You try to grab hold of them, you try to kick them or whatever, because you don't like to be mugged off on a football field when someone's done you. Do you know what I mean? But so it's just a panic reaction, like, you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is he's dived. And he's dived to get a penalty, and you can see that. Now, if I was a referee, and it's nothing against Arsenal, because it's Arsenal or whatever, I look at that and go, no, sorry, mate, you've dived. You know what I mean? I would have said, no, sorry, he's dived, and you can see that he has. But unfortunately, football's not like that now, you know what I mean, of it all. Someone said to me that, Odegaard made too much of a meal out of it. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, so you can't have one and not the other. That is my beef about it. You go back to the Liverpool-Tottenham game. Harry Kane is not asked to go to VAR, and Robinson is. Robinson's at the moment sitting on a 3-game ban because of that. That's not right, Craig. It's not right that one player does a worse foul and it's not because of someone's opinion watching a screen. And that's what it is at the end of the day. It's someone's opinion. Like, those two penalties were not fact. This is my argument about VAR. They are not fact. It was a referee's opinion on the pitch, turned around and said they both weren't penalties. It's someone's then opinion on a screen that turns around and says one is and one's not. There's too much grey area and too much about opinions. When the ball goes over the line, you know that it's over the line, it's a fact. And you can't argue it. With the offside, you know, it's a little line and all that, like you are, it's still fact. The fact of the matter on that VAR, there's 2 penalty decisions there, and it's an opinion of a referee. Now, what I would say about that is, and it's happened to us on a couple of occasions, happened to us twice now. We've had penalty. I've seen I can go back to the one with Eddie against I think it was Leeds in the cup. You know, it's contact there. It's a penalty, but no. Not going to give. Not going to go.
What about the one at Old Trafford where Harry Maguire pulls back Tommy?
Pulls back the shirt. Nothing's going to go back. Not going to go back on that. Yeah. But it's supposed to go back on the Ronaldo one, which was a penalty. Yeah, right. And they've also gone back on that one. But on other occasions, I've heard them turn around and go, "Oh, well, they're not going to go back because it's not quite clear and obvious." You know what I mean? Like. And I don't care what anybody says about that penalty, not me being biased on that. It's not clear and obvious that's a penalty on Silva. It's not clear and obvious, and it's not clear and obvious with the one with Odegaard as well. It's not clear and obvious. But when you're looking at that, and if I was on that VAR, this is where I go into being corrupt and whatever and incompetent. I looked at the first one and I'd have thought, yeah, all right, I'll let that one go. Then when I see that second one, I'd have thought, well, I've let that one go. I've got a bit. I'm in the same channel as that one, so I better let that one go. Oh no, let's have that one. It's total crap. That's what VAR is not there for.
And as soon as that referee goes over to the screen. I mean, like when
we might give it.
Of course he's going to give it. Of course, I mean, like I was here now, I jumped out of my seat. You know, you diving bastard, get up. And when I saw him wave it away, I was like, brilliant, referee. He's seen it. He's dived. Brilliant. We move on. You know, but then he gets called back. Graham, yes, mate.
Yeah, I just want to come in and say we're talking about the Xhaka shirt pull. I don't think the penalty was given for the shirt pull. I think the penalty was given for the contact. So. What happened was Silva was really clever in that action, Craig. What he did was when he got the ball, he literally went into Xhaka deliberately. Xhaka stuck a slight leg out, dangled a leg, and Silva made sure he went into it. Because if you watch it back, and I've watched it back several times, Silva's going down.
Yeah, diving, exactly. Going down before the contact.
Diving from when he caught Xhaka's leg. But
my argument to that,
Craig, both just quickly. Sorry to interrupt, but quickly, both were low contact incidents, and if you treated one, as the judge said, if you treated one that way, like you did with the Odegaard, very similar, low contact, you had to treat the second one the same.
Exactly.
That's the problem. Exactly. It wasn't. He did pull at his shirt, and Xhaka's got a history of this. He did it against Brighton in a league game a few years ago. I remember at the Emirates. He does panic in those sort of situations. That's a flaw in his game. But it wasn't the shirt pull that gave the penalty. They were looking at the leg, and Silva deliberately went into that leg and then dived and cheated. And that is an absolute fact, Craig.
And I have to agree. But there's people in the chat. There's people in the chat here.
He said, "I'm not having none of it." He said it was a dive and had none of it. Yeah. But what's happened is then once he's seen that, they've put pressure on him. And I don't care what anybody's saying, right? On that monitor, he's not going over there. And he's telling him, look, he's done this and he's done that. Instead of watching that monitor, because I watched it the other day, he's in his ear listening to what he's got to say. Just let him go over there and watch it. But once they go over there, you might as well just go, well, give him a penalty. As soon as he said he's going over the monitor, it's a penalty. You ain't going to check. It's ridiculous. I don't even say what is the point of going over to the monitor, because what it's basically saying is go over the monitor and change your mind.
Dan, what we're looking for is VAR is not the problem. VAR is not the problem. The problem is the man sitting looking at the screen. There's your problem. And Lee quite rightly says that it's an opinion. Do you know, it's the fella's opinion who's sitting in the studio that he's got it wrong, and that it's a penalty. All I'm looking for VAR is consistency. Now, a lot of people in the chat are saying that the penalty was given for the shirt pull. I even saw the referee signal to one of the Arsenal players that it was for the shirt pull. He was signalling this. Now, if that's the case, fine. But the next round of Premier League fixtures, we should see about 30 penalties on Match of the Day this week, if that's the case. Because it happens every week, 10 or 15 times a game, where people are getting their shirts pulled in the box from corners, from free kicks, and nothing happens. No one's, the players are going down with their arms up in the air. Why aren't they being looked at? Why isn't the VAR fella saying, someone's just pulled the shirt there. You might want to come and have a look at this. Why is that not working? And another thing, when I talk about consistency, is when you watch Chelsea-Liverpool yesterday, and after 15 seconds, Sadio Mane jumps into a fella with his elbow. It's a clear red card. I don't care what anyone says. It's a red card. And it doesn't even get looked at. So it's not VAR for me. It's the consistency and the people that are controlling it.
I couldn't say it better myself, mate. I could not say it better myself, Craig. I said that VAR stands for very awful refereeing, and it does. It is bang on. It is very awful refereeing, and I think in the year 2000 on Saturday, the referees telling both Odegaard and Bernardo Silva, "Get up, mate. Just get up. What you both doing?" In the year 2022, which we are now, I think both of them are penalties. If you look at what the other incidents are of the last year or two, then I don't know why both penalties haven't been given. But it's not really is it a penalty or is it not a penalty that bothers me, Craig. It's the fact that there's a lack of inconsistency, not just in that game, but throughout other games this season and last season. Since VAR was brought in, there's been more controversy than there ever has been in any other Premier League season. And this was supposed to be what does it. Yeah, and that's a great point, by the way. VAR works in other countries. I said that last night, actually, with Lee. That it works fine in the Euros. It not work?
Yeah.
And why do you think that is, Craig? Because we've got the worst officials, mate. That is why it is. They are absolutely shambolic. Lee's right. Stuart Atwell got banned from football refereeing for 4 years for being incompetent. Why has he been allowed to ref Arsenal versus Manchester City? Nobody can answer that. It wasn't just the VAR decision that was a shambles. It was all of the fouls on the pitch that he let go. He couldn't wait to book Xhaka. Couldn't wait to book Holding. Couldn't wait to get Gabriel off the pitch.
Yeah.
But why did we lose that game? Did we lose the game because of Stuart Atwell? No. Did we lose the game because of VAR? No. We lost the game because two of our individuals messed up, Gabriel and Xhaka. So that's why we lost the game. Yeah. But if we're talking and sticking to VAR, then I think we have to look at what the inconsistency of these officials is about. Because for me, it was shambolic in not just that game. You've pointed to Mane. Lee talked about Harry Kane, who's been playing for 3 games, where Robertson can't play for 3 games now because he's been out because apparently his was a red and Harry Kane's wasn't. We've got a lot of injuries at the moment and COVID and all this kind of stuff. So red cards are a massive, massive thing at the moment. So it's going to have to be spot on. And all I ask is that it's fair and it's impartial. And when I'm seeing one of the referee going up to the screen for Manchester City and nothing for Arsenal, that to me isn't fair. It doesn't matter if he doesn't give the penalty, but he has to go and look at both incidents. He can't decide that one is worth looking at and one is not. And this clear and obvious thing is, I don't get that. I don't understand what that means because nothing I saw was clear or obvious mistakes from anything that the referee had done other than the yellow cards, which you can't come and look at the screen for every yellow card. So both of the penalties I don't think were clear and obvious errors, in my opinion. I don't look at that and think, how has the ref messed that one up? Because there was a lot of pros and cons for it. We're still deciding whether it was or wasn't now. That's not clear and obvious for me. So I think there's a lot of it that doesn't work. In the Euros, in the World Cup, in the Champions League and the Europa League even, we don't have this every game and every week because the officials are a lot better. And, I look at how many of those have we seen now against Arsenal, and I do start to question what's happening here because we can go back in 3 or 4 seasons now with Tomiyasu this season getting stamped on, Tomiyasu getting pulled in the box by Harry Maguire. We've seen Callum Chambers get fouled in the box last season and Socrates put the ball in and then a VAR says that he was actually the one fouling him.
Made the foul,
I don't get some of the send-ins off. Aubameyang had a situation with Johnny Evans when I was at Leicester away, which was a clear last man foul. nothing got done there. There's so many over the last few that have just been with Arsenal. That does make me question what's going on there. However, we're Arsenal fans, so they are very, very obvious to us. Maybe Manchester United, Spurs, Everton, Sunderland, Ipswich Town are all in the same boat, and they see referee decisions go against them quite a lot and think, oh, are they corrupt against Ipswich Town or Sunderland? Maybe it's just the way fans are. But there certainly is a few that we can name, and if we were to sit down and write them down, Craig, over the last 2-3 years, just only alone, I think we'd be shocked at how many decisions have not gone our way, and it is something that I have questioned.
Just while you're talking there, I'm thinking back to David Luiz against Wolves. How has he been sent off for that?
Unbelievable, wasn't it?
He's running back. The player clips his knee because he's running to get the ball. Just because David Luiz was behind, he gets sent off.
And the same thing happened a week later and nothing happened, mate. It's shocking.
Yeah. Graham.
Go on, Graham. What are you saying?
So your mute one off. Adele.
Again, sorry.
I've got Sophie Rose here. Keeps putting me on mute. Just quickly, that red card on Saturday, Lee, was our 100th red card. Did you know that?
Yeah,
and that is the 11th red card under Mikel Arteta. So clearly we have got wherever we think there is a slight discipline problem, maybe. But for all that, we talked about the Mane elbow, which was a red card all day long. Did you see that Mason Mount kick out at that Liverpool?
Yes.
Now, if that had been Granit Xhaka, he would have been sent off. So the reality is, when you think about it, I think referees make decisions based on players. As simple as that. Mason Mount is the golden boy of English football, and so is Harry Kane, is the captain of England. So they get a pass, but Granit Xhaka does not. And I think that's worth saying. So we have got a discipline problem. Discipline clearly is a factor because we have so many red cards.
Yeah.
But for all that, I do think our players are looked at differently to players of other clubs. I think it's a point worth making.
Yeah, listen. Granit Xhaka got sent off for just pushing his head into somebody's definite sending off. Not going to argue with that. But when you see that from Mason Mount yesterday, you've got to. I remember someone. Was it Xhaka that pushed someone? I think against Burnley. Do you remember he just pushed someone away? I've seen it happen 10, 15 times. People pushing it away. It doesn't happen. You know, I then see Zaha do it, and he gets sent off, and then I see somebody else get away with it. Now, I look at this game yesterday, and what really annoyed me about yesterday's game is that part of me doesn't want to see players sent off because you want to see a game of football. But Mane, after 6 seconds, should be sent off. Now, they try to make an excuse. VAR, oh, it wasn't this and it wasn't that. Why are you starting now to take the mickey out of me and by that? It's a sending off, right? You know, in my opinion, it's a sending off. In somebody else's opinion, it might not be a sending off, and that's the thing we've got the problem. But two players should have gone yesterday, but for whatever reason, they haven't. Has anybody come out and told us why? What's going on? You know what I mean on those things there, I furious at Match of the Day the other day. Yeah. Standard sending off for Gabriel for a standard booking. Well, then highlight something when there's a standard yellow card for Manchester City and he doesn't give it. Why don't you do the standard things And this is the problem with it. Now, when you go on about Granit Xhaka, and I agree with that. Has Mane not got a history of elbows? Has he not got an history? I think it's about the third or fourth time now he's done it. So all of a sudden, it's not. So, but why are they not doing him? And I'll tell you why they didn't do him yesterday after that, because it's money. That is a big, big game. It don't want to be ruined. And I'm sorry, you know what I mean? I watched a fantastic game of football ruined on Saturday by a referee, but not being good enough to referee an elite game like that.
Not having the bottle. I think it's not having the bottle. I mean, Graham talks about disciplinary there. I'm going to have to stand up for Gabriel here because I believe the reason he was booked was because if you watch the melee, is actually Rodri pushes Gabriel into the ref.
It could be done for that.
Yeah, the ref turns round and sees Gabriel mouthing off. I'm not sure whether did he book him after the penalty?
No, he booked him after that.
He books him after the penalty. Okay, so it might be.
If VAR want to get busy, Craig, why don't they? What you know? What I mean, he pushed him into the referee. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's a send off, but if you want to get busy, you think, well, get busy on that. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems to me. I'm going to say it's incompetence rather than corruption.
Yeah, I've also got to say, Lee, I mean, the second one. I mean, the second tackle. Was that a booking? Was it a booking?
If he's letting Rodri off for the same thing in the first half on Xhaka, which he did do, Xhaka went past him and he brought him down. And he went up to... I was there. It was right down the side. I don't know if you remember it in the first half. He got in between two. Rodri put him down. The referee turned around and said, right, no more of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but he didn't do that. He could have done that, Gabriel, and said, look, you're on a booking. Last up. Couldn't wait to get it out. But what made it even worse... What made that even worse was that Holding come off and his first tackle after 1 minute of being on the pitch, he booked it. A yellow card, like, and
he didn't even get.
I think it was who played today? Man United. McTominay come flying in, made a tackle. He's gone straight there, yellow cards. You know what I mean? Like, so what I'm saying is, it's not just Arsenal. You know what I mean? Like, Man United today, we'll look at that and go, well, McTominay, all right, I've done exactly the same as what Rodri's done. I've got booked for it. He hasn't. And that, what else it does?
Do you know why, though, Lee? Do you know why? I think he's booked. And listen, I thought to not book Rodri was a disgrace, and to have to take his shirt off for him to have to book him, I thought was a disgrace. But when he's just told the ref to F off and dissent and all that, he's just waiting. He's waiting.
Of course he is.
He's waiting and waiting. Go on, foul someone. I'll send you off. Foul someone. There it is. Off you go. Because he's so Rodri ain't been swearing at the ref, has he? So the ref's looking, thinking, how many fouls has he done?
They do it very well, Manchester City. Look,
they do it well.
They've been doing it for and all of a sudden now Rodri's doing it and all that, like, you know.
And listen, I think it was bad from Gabriel personally. I think it was a foolish thing and immature.
I think
we've got
he lost his head.
Exactly, Craig. He lost his head.
Penalty.
And he has to stop that. And there is a discipline thing there with some of our youngsters. There's going to be because we're young, and I think we do need to improve on that. The only one thing I do want to say, Dermot Gallagher apparently came out today on Sky. He's unbelievable as well, isn't he? And he's basically said that the reason that he stuck up for the ref not sending Mane off because it was only 6 seconds into the game and it would have ruined the spectacle. Now, I'm sorry, but it ruined the spectacle on Saturday for Arsenal.
I can't get him out. I don't ever want to watch a bloke like that because that's not refereeing. It's not refereeing.
I had to turn off.
They're earning a living. That Gallagher, by the way, is earning a living out of being crap as a referee. You know what I mean? And it's the same for that Peter Walton. They're earning money. I can't tolerate watching people like that trying to stick up for crap. You know what I mean? Like, say it how it is. You're on telly. Say it how it is. It's a sending off. Do your job. Do your job. What you're getting paid for.
They're puppets on a string. You've got Gallagher at Sky Sports, and you've got that Peter Watton on BT Sports. Now, we were downstairs while I was watching that game. He came on, and I said to him,
he was waffling, wasn't he, Craig?
He turned over now. I said, this remote control was going through it. Get it off. And she said, all right. Trying to turn it before
he was waffling, wasn't he?
You know, I can't have them all that. You know, and I'll tell you something now. I'm going to say this now, right? And anybody out there get to watch it, like a series called Ted Lasso. I've been watching it all over the new year. It's absolutely fantastic, right? But they even give a little bit part in there to what's his name? The referee that I can't stand with a bald head. What's his name from the Wirral?
Oh, Mike Riley.
Mike Dean.
Mike Dean. They give Mike Dean a little part in that. What does that tell you? Because he's an arsehole and useless at refereeing.
For people who are listening to this on audio, the teeth are out. The teeth are out.
It's a part in a program, right? I had to mute it for a second, like. The reason he's getting, you know, so that let's be controversial. I get a career after this refereeing. These refs are getting, you know, they're shit, and then they're going to go and make more. Dermot Gallagher sits on there and earning a living at what he's saying. He's pathetic.
And I think over the years, what we've seen as well, lads, over the years, not just this season, this goes back to Mike Riley at Old Trafford ruining us. It goes back to sending Oxlade-Chamberlain off and Kieran Gibbs off, getting them misidentified. Graham Powell gave someone 3 yellow cards before he sent someone off. And now we're seeing this shambles as well. You know, we've had some absolutely shambolic referees over the years, like Andy Durso, David Edery, Graham Powell. How bad are these officials? And they've not got any better.
I used to referee me, the thing from Tring. He was useless then and he's useless now. You know what I
Look
mean?
at how many get apart from Kalina. Name me a referee that you thought was top class. I can't think of one. They've all been terrible. They've
No,
just
I
been
reckon the
awful.
best one, that Michael Oliver, he's crap.
What about Clattenburg? What about
He was
Clattenburg?
all right.
I thought he
He
was
was
all
all
right. Yeah.
was
Thought he
all
was all right. Howard
Until he
Webb as
went on
well. A lot of
Sky
people gave
Sport,
him
yeah.
stick. He weren't too bad.
Oh, Howard Webb, do not. He was Manchester United's 12th man every game they played.
Yeah, he
that
was,
bloke.
but I thought he was quite a good ref. But he was, unless he was at
What
Old
was
Trafford. But
the big black fella's name? Like it was like built like a
Can't
rugby
say
flag.
things like that, Lee.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Uriah Rennie.
Uriah Rennie,
He
yeah.
was a decent ref. He was a decent ref.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
no, he was
He was.
decent. I never thought he was that bad. Someone just said Paul Durkin. Don't get me on about him. Do you remember that game at Anfield
Oh,
when he
Durkin.
sent off?
Oh,
he,
yeah.
he sent off the fella that's manager of Rangers now. Do you remember that? We was winning 2-1. The Dutch fella played for Arsenal. Sent him off when we was winning 2.
The Dutch
hang
player
on.
who played
Sorry,
for
Graham.
Arsenal.
Graham.
Van
Van
Bronckhorst.
Bronckhorst.
Van
Van
Bronckhorst.
Bronckhorst.
And then Freddie Ljungberg goes round the goalkeeper, goal scoring opportunity. He just books him. You know what I mean? Like it's corrupt. Been corrupt all the way through. Like you know what I mean? Uriah Rennie though weren't a bad referee. I'm sticking my neck out on him. He weren't bad. He weren't bad. And what was the other one from the northeast with the big head?
Such
He looked
great
like a
descriptions
soldier.
these are, aren't
That's
they?
great
Great.
descriptions.
He looked like a soldier. He had a black head. He was from the northeast. Move on, Mark. But he
No, I know
weren't-
the fella you mean. He had a big mullet, didn't he?
Yeah, he weren't, but he wasn't bad. He wasn't a bad ref. He was from. He come up from I think he was from Newcastle or someone like that. He had a big sort of tufty hair thing.
Was
like
it
that.
Ellery? Peter Ellery?
No. Anyway.
We could sit
We
here
get the
talking
point.
about
We get
bad
the point.
refs.
They're all rubbish.
Yeah, we get the point. They're all crap. Right, last question of the night. Just before we go on to get a prediction for what's going to happen during the week at Anfield. At home first, aren't we? What's going to go happening at the Emirates in the first leg of the Cup semi-final? Lee, a yes or no answer for all of you. Mikel Arteta's contract's up in
Jeff
18 months.
Winter. Well
Jeff
done,
Winter.
Nigel.
Yeah, Nigel.
Well done, Nigel. He was not
Nigel, the boy.
Yeah, Jeff Winter was all right, actually.
bad. He's well done, Nigel. My description was perfect.
He was. He did. He ate a few pies, I think, that Jeff Winter. He's definitely from up north. Arteta's contract up in 18 months' time. If I'm pushing a contract across the table to him now, would you want him to sign it?
No, not yet.
Interesting.
I'm not convinced yet. I'm still not convinced. I'm liking what I'm seeing at the moment, but I would wait to see where we are at the end of the season.
Okay. Dan?
I'm with Lee. I wouldn't get him to sign it yet. I think we've got a huge month coming up. And if we get to the end of the season and we're out of Europe and we haven't got a trophy, then I'll be tearing his contract up and showing him the door. So I don't think we're going to be giving him the contract now after a few wins. I am a lot happier. And I'll be very happy if we get to the 1st of February and we've beaten Spurs and we're in both cups still. I'll tell you that. But it will still be the end of the season for me. And that's if he does last that long. If we start coming down 8th, 9th, I'll obviously want him to be gone. But if you're going to give me a contract now, the answer's no for him to sign it.
Just before we go in there, Graham, thank you, Chris, for your kind donation. It sounded like Lee was describing Mark Hughes. And this one comes in from Sam. Thank you very much, mate. How do we solve the refereeing problem? Accountability, go foreign. The ref goes to the monitor for the penalty and red card decisions every time. I think, I'm with Sam, I think it's time to start recruiting from the outside with the referees and get some European ones in the Premier League. Graham, the contract. If I slid a 3-year contract across the table for Mikel Arteta, would you be happy for him to sign it?
Not at the moment, Greg. I think I don't think, to be fair, he has to sign it at the moment. I don't think he's under any real pressure. I've said that all along. I think they've totally bought into him. They've given him £129 million in the transfer market. They're going to give him more money, I think, in the January window. And I think they're heavily into Mikel Arteta. So I think, but in answer to the question, he hasn't done enough yet to earn another contract. I agree with the lads on that one. I don't think he needs to sign it, and I don't think, regardless of, I've got this funny feeling that we're not going to finish up as low as we did last year, and we just do enough for him to be able to say at the end of the season it's progress. And I think whatever we think that he has, and we had our doubts quite rightly early in the season, I think things are heading in the right direction. But I think let's just wait and see how it pans out. But I think that he's doing well enough, I think, to get another contract at the moment. But the boys are quite right. If we end up 8th again and it all falls apart, but I just can't see that happening. So, but no, in answer to your question, not at the moment.
Okay, interesting. This comes back in from Chris. Thank you very much, mate. Very kind. I'm happy with holding Stan as 4th choice if Saliba returns. The summer recruitment included 4 leaders, would-be captains, top 6 this season. Bring on next season. Already looking forward to next season. Optimistic. I like it. Optimism. What are we going to see Thursday, lads? A good young squad, I would imagine, Lee. Will we see Martinelli lead the line, something like that? Smith Rowe, Saka. Would we see Charlie Patino start for Arsenal?
Well, we're definitely without Partey, definitely without El Neni. So something's got to change there. So I think we go pretty strong for this game.
No.
He thinks we'll go that strong. He's popped off to go and look now.
He's been taken out.
I think Sophie Rose has pushed his button.
He's never going to live this down, is he? He's never going to live this down. Dan, take over, son. Take over.
Yes, mate. I will. This is the team I think it will be anyway. I think Leno will be in goal. I think the fullbacks will be the same as they were against Sunderland, Cedric and Nuno Tavares. I think Ben White and Rob Holding will probably partner each other now that Gabriel is obviously suspended. I don't think we've got any other midfield partnerships, unless he brings Patino in, than Granit Xhaka and Lokonga, if I'm honest with you. So I suspect that will probably be the midfield pairing. And then it gets interesting, Craig, because Eddie Nketiah, there was a rumour that he might be tested positive for COVID. If that's not the case, I think he'll start up front because I think he was his hat-trick against Sunderland warranted that start instead of Lacazette. And then it's going to be interesting. Is he going to go with Odegaard, Saka and Smith Rowe? Is Martinelli going to come into the side? There's going to be a few youngsters. I don't think Balogun will start because I think that he was quite poor against Sunderland, personally. So for me, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with that front lineup. But I don't think it's going to be a load of kids. I don't think Balogun's, Patinos, Amari Hutchinson's, nobody like that is going to come in. It's going to be, I think, a little bit of a mixture, which I think we can afford to do. We've got to do this the right way round now. We've got Forest on Saturday where we can play the Baloguns and Patinos if we want to. But for me, we've got to make sure that we handle this well in terms of team selection over the next 4 games, because we've got a North London derby that's not too far away, but also we've got to try and get through this Carabao Cup fixture over 2 legs so that we can be in the final of the Cup. Because for me, I think our team will be stronger than Liverpool's because they're depleted. They've got no Salah and Mane now because of Africa. Alisson's got COVID. Firmino has. Matip has. So that means they are depleted. For me...
But they've got some good youngsters, mate. They've got some good... They have got some good young players.
But so have we. So let's see who's got the best youngsters, I think, Craig. I'll answer the question.
Yeah. I think we said that the last time, didn't we? In that epic 5-5 draw.
That was mental.
Up at Anfield. That was a superb game. Horrible way to finish that game, obviously, on penalties. But both the teams that night were outstanding. Graham, what do you think is going to happen Thursday?
Well, I think it's a cup semi-final. It's Liverpool. I think we've got to go as strong as possible. Simple as that.
I want to win it. I want to win this trophy.
Look, I think that Leno will definitely play in goal. I think because he's the cup goalkeeper. I think that Holding has to come in because Gabriel's suspended. Otherwise, I would have gone with our strongest back 4. And I think I would rather play Tierney instead of Tavares. But I think Tavares will play. I agree with Dan. But I think I would play Tierney. And to be honest with you, I'll play Lacazette up front. I don't care that Nketiah's got a hat-trick in the last game. This is a cup semi-final.
Yes.
This is a great chance of winning the trophy. I think we should put out our strongest possible team and play the front line that's working. The front line. I don't
think he will. I don't think he will, though, Graham. But I agree with you.
But the reality is, you can't take Liverpool lightly just because they haven't got Salah and Mane. When they played Leicester, they were 3-1 down at home with a skeleton team. Not their strongest team, and they still got through. They've still got great players who they can bring in. So if we go in with this sort of mentality, well, Nketiah is our Carling Cup's centre forward, and we won't go strong at left back. We'll give Tavares a game because he's been playing there all the time. We're forced to play holding admittedly because Gabriel's not fit. Or even if we let Tommy Asu out and played a different right back, that's a massive mistake. This is a cup competition. We're 2 games away from Wembley and possibly winning a trophy. And I think, and I've got this funny feeling that Tottenham and Arsenal have got the best chance of getting to the final for the simple reason the other 2 teams have got massive problems in their squad and they're in Europe, so they are going to more likely to rotate. So I think that we have to go as strong as possible. And I'll be honest with you, I just don't want to change the back line too much, and I don't want to change the forward line too much, because that's what's got us our success on the field in the last few games. He has to make 1 or 2 changes, admittedly, because Partey's gone, so Lukonga's got to come in, and Gabriel's suspended, but Holding's got to play. But apart from that, and playing the goalkeeper, I'll play our strongest 11.
Talking about, I kind of agree with that. I like what you're saying, Graham, and I would do the same. I want to win this trophy. For me, for me, growing up as a lad, you play football to win trophies, and I want to see Arsenal winning trophies. That's what it's all about. But Dan, has this fixture come at a bit of a bad time? Will Arteta in the back of his mind be thinking that he's got a North London derby in between these two games? So is he gonna rest his more senior players? Is he gonna let the young fellas, loose, so to speak?
It's the busiest month of our season, to be honest with you, because we're out of Europe. But I don't think it's come at the wrong time, Craig, because we're playing well. So we're in form, we've got confidence, and I know that we didn't win on the weekend, but actually we played well, and I don't think it would have knocked their confidence so much. I think the players would have left feeling more disappointed in the fact that we lost in that way, as opposed to us being just dreadful. It's the only game at the Emirates I've seen, actually, in probably 15 years, where we lost the game and the fans were absolutely going nuts at the end, clapping them, giving them all confidence, which is great to see. It means that there's a connect now between fans and the players.
Just to interrupt there as well, Dan. The fans were brilliant at the weekend. The Emirates, the Emirates on Saturday is what I want the Emirates to be against Burnley, Norwich, Spurs, United. That is the pinnacle of what the Emirates Stadium should be. I thought it was quite an intense atmosphere and quite an intimidating atmosphere as well for Manchester City. It's about time that stadium was used as a place where people are going to come to be intimidated, not just by the fans, but by the way we play football as well, And I think if the players keep playing like they are, the fans, are really going to get on side, and they will. It will be an intimidating place to come. But one other thing I was going to say there, Dan, for the first time in a long time, I saw 11 gutted players at full time.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that for a long, long time. When we've been away to teams where Mertesacker's had to get Mesut Ozil to go and clap the fans, or players have walked straight off the pitch, or at the weekend, I saw 11 knackered, gutted players, and that's all you can ask for.
100%, mate. And I just wanted to say a couple of things on that, because I feel like now we have a team that the fans are not just connected with, but the fans like. I can actually say there is probably 2 or 3 players that I'm like, take or leave. The rest of them, I'm really bought into them. Ramsdale, Tommy Asu, Kieran Tierney, I absolutely love. Gabriel, Ben White's really impressed me the last few games, and he stepped up his game. I like Lukonga from what I've seen. Nuno Tavares come in that time for a few games and look good. I've been really impressed with Odegaard the last 5 or 6 games, and of course I love the youngsters in Saka, Smith Rowe and Martinelli. That's a long time since I could say that many players that I was really bought into at the club. So that is credit to Arteta and Edu off the field. I think off the field they've been really good. And I think it proves that they do understand what it means to wear the shirt, and they're looking at a certain mentality of player that can not just do well on the pitch but connect with the fans and understand what it means to wear the shirt. So that has certainly improved. I think that then connects with the fan base, and the one thing that people haven't actually touched on too much, and I think maybe people have forgot, but we need to take into consideration, we ain't been allowed into the stadiums for so long. So now it's been so good when we have been there. even more so. And I think what that has done is it counteracted on the players as well, because they've realised, wow, we have missed you not being here. So I think that's definitely put a buzz into the stadium. I've been to home and away to every game this season apart from Old Trafford and Burnley away, and everything else that I've been to has been an immense atmosphere, home and away. The fans have been outstanding. And I think that we've started to see a lot more of a lift at the Emirates this season, more than I ever have. I've not seen that in a long time. And the credit to the fans has to be, we actually haven't seen many great performances at the Emirates this season. We've been really good at home, but we haven't seen like, oh my God, outstanding performance. I remember scraping past Norwich, but the fans were brilliant. Scraping past Watford, fans were brilliant. Newcastle. It was only really the last few games at the Emirates against Southampton, West Ham and Man City that I've looked at everyone going, wow, your atmosphere is just as good as it was against Norwich at 1-0, but we're really enjoying this performance at the moment, and I think that lifts it. The last couple of things I want to say, because I know Lee's had a power cut, but he's back now, is I think apparently Eddie's got COVID, so he's going to be out. So we might see Lacazette, or we might see Martinelli up top and then play the three youngsters behind, which I'm really hoping we do see on Thursday night now. But the Nottingham Forest game, they're saying, could actually be cancelled because they've just had their fixture cancelled, Nottingham Forest, due to COVID problems. Right. So watch this space. We might not actually have this many games. But to answer your original question, Craig, it might not have come at the best of time, but I don't think there's a bad time this season because we're out of Europe. So it is going to be a bit more of a fixture pile-up due to the Cups. But we have got enough players, in my opinion, to rotate a couple of positions or keep it fairly strong and still have the confidence to go through both competitions and have a strong side to play against Tottenham in the North London derby. So this is a huge month for Arsenal.
Sam, thank you very much for your kind donation, mate. I think he's going on what I've been saying. We don't have the luxury of turning our noses up to any domestic cup competitions at the moment, and I totally agree. Lee, just before you got cut off there, I was saying that it's a trophy I want to win. Growing up as a young lad, playing football, you played football to win trophies. I don't like seeing the Carabao Cup get its bad name for playing youngsters and things like that. I want to see Arsenal lift this cup. I was just saying to Dan, I was going to get your thoughts on it. There's a North London derby, obviously, in between the two games. Will that hinder Mikel Arteta's selection?
No, I agree with Dan. I think like the Notts Forest game looks like it could be called off. Don't know. If it isn't, it looks like Forest are going to have to play a very, very understrength team or forfeit the game. I don't know what's going to happen with the cup games because last season when teams got COVID, i.e. Orient against Spurs, if you remember rightly, they had to forfeit the fixture. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't see Forest forfeiting it, so they're put out a weak side, so I don't know. So I think at this moment in time, just play it game by game, strength by strength. You don't know what's going to happen the following week. So I would go strong for this game. With only changes that you've got to make. I really do. I think Smith Rowe comes in to maybe give Saka a break or Martinelli, one of the two. As Dan said, I don't think Eddie will be fit. So maybe this is the time to see put Martinelli up there alongside Smith Rowe and Saka and see if that works. I don't know. Something to do there. But, going back to the League Cup, I think that, I do think you play lesser sides early on if you can afford to do it, but ultimately there's three massive clubs there, aren't there, like in Liverpool, Arsenal and Chelsea, that are in the semi-finals, so that have all won trophies over the last few years, so you always get one team that may not quite deserve to get there, and that's Tottenham Hotspur, but they're there, so we'll have to wait and see like that, but all jokes aside, there's four big teams there that are all chasing for the top four or bigger that are in the semi-finals. So, and you look at that in the early rounds of the FA Cup, I'm guaranteeing that we'll all be making changes. But come the end of the season in the semi-finals, there'll be four of the biggest teams in the country in those semi-finals, as there always is.
I do apologise. I have got it wrong. It's the Nottingham Forest game that was supposed to be in between the two of them, not the Spurs game. My apologies. I got those two mixed up. Lads, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here this evening. And talking Arsenal with you is always a massive pleasure on a Monday evening. Thank you very, very much for your valued input. I'm sure everyone in the chat and everyone who listens and everyone who watches would agree. Dan, thank you very much for your time this evening, mate. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, mate. It was a pleasure, as always. Really enjoyed that, guys. It's great to be back, man, on Same Old Arsenal. It really is. So,
it's good, isn't it? It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. It is good. It is good. Graham, did you want to come in on something?
Yeah, I want to come in, Craig.
Go on.
Just to let you boys know that my Secret Santa turned up for Mark. And he obviously the cheese didn't turn up, so I reckon that they didn't deliver that because I put cheese in the post. But I think I sent him he's a Star Trek fan, is he, Dan? I wanted to get him a captain's log, but so I sent him a chocolate log. And he sent me pictures of your family eating it.
We enjoyed it. We enjoyed it, mate.
I saw those pictures.
We enjoyed it at the Emirates, mate. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, so I'm glad that turned up. So it wasn't secret, but he got his present in the end. Great being back talking to the judge, yourself, and Dan tonight. And obviously I missed Harry tonight because I would love to see him defend Granit Xhaka tonight on that tackle.
Yeah, that would have been good. All right, that would have been good. But I think I've done quite a good job of that. I think
he's gone into hiding, hasn't he, Harry?
Yeah. I'm not going on there tonight. No way. No, I'm not coming on. I've got work. Judges, thank you very much, mate, for your
no problems. Got to go and sort my telly out now. See about the darts because I've had a bloody pack at you right now. But really enjoyed that. Good to be back, and see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see you next week. Amanda, you saw the show. Some of you may have saw on the show last night. Amanda's joined the team. She's going to be doing her own show every week. I believe she's going to start on the 14th of January, and she is going to be doing a little bit of a Spurs preview for you all. I think she's got a couple of Spurs mates, if you can call them that, coming on with her to talk about the game. So that should be good. That'll be on the 14th of January. We'll be back next week, as per, on Monday, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. We'll see next week. What time we can all meet up at. Thank you very much for your kind donations. Very much appreciated. Until we see you again, take care of yourselves and each other, and up the Arsenal.